What's up there guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the second video based on the latest update for Derail Valley. So the build is called 99.4. In the last video we covered a bunch of the new customization options and that was really fun. In this video we're going to be taking a look at items and gadgets, platform and stability, graphics, miscellaneous and the latest tutorial updates. So please do grab yourself a drink, let's hit the rails. Right then guys, just before we make a start, I just quickly wanted to mention that these videos are shot in real time, so they're actually taken outside of my current playthrough. My current playthrough is actually recorded in advance and we're about up to 2 weeks in advance at the moment, so it'll take some time before we see this latest update filter through into that playthrough. It will come though, don't worry about that. We will get there guys, but what I wanted to say is that what you will see today is just basically to highlight and to showcase the latest update information and to give you some examples of what the latest gadgets and things like that do. So yeah, strap yourself in, do enjoy. Right then guys, so first things first, this is a free update if you have purchased the game. So yeah, Derail Valley is constantly receiving big updates and this one was certainly a decent update. In this video the main focus is going to be around the items and gadgets, but as I said we'll move on to looking at the platform and stability updates, graphics, miscellaneous and tutorial after that. So yeah, let's start off by taking a look at the latest changes and additions to the items and gadgets. Okay then guys, so we're starting off with items and gadgets. So I thought the best way to deal with this would be to travel around the map and see what the various gadgets and items that are now available in the shops are. So here we are at Machine Factory in town. We're going to start here. This seems to be the main sort of technology one. So we're going to take a look at the various things that are available here now. So looking around the shelves, I'd say all of that is common. And yes, all of this is, although the mounts have now been updated, so looking at them, they've got more detail. Looks like they've got a little bit more texture on there as well. Looks quite nice. So the first thing we're going to look at here is the defect detector, and that's $8,000. So yeah, we'll probably cover this one more in my playthrough if I choose to pick it up. But for now, I think it's just worth saying that the defect detector tells you if any part of your train is either derailed or if any of the brakes have overheated. So I think that could be quite cool and something that we could take a look at as part of the playthrough. Maybe install that on my main locomotive. Maybe you want to. Yeah, do let me know if you've had a go with this. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Right, what else do we have? So we've got high-tech tail light, right? So the new sets of taillights come as a pair, so you've got to buy both of them. And also the same with the headlights, although the headlights are far more expensive than the taillights. Again, that might be something that we take a look at as part of the playthrough. It's not going to be something that I'm going to be purchasing now. But yeah, I don't know which locomotive they'd fit on or look good on. They are kind of uniquely shaped, aren't they? They do look good, to be fair, but yeah, certainly something that we'll take a look at as part of a playthrough or maybe add them on. Alright, one thing that I'm going to grab is the mount stand because I'm certainly going to be taking a look at the mount. So let's click on this. Also to mention, there's now the battery charger here, so this was previously in the caboose. This is now a separate item and needs to be purchased separately if you want to use it. I'll probably pick this up as part of the playthrough. If you've used the caboose, you know that you basically place the remote control on there. You can also place the torch on there and it charges it. We'll pick that up as part of the playthrough and install it as part of that. Alright, so I do want to take a look at the proximity sensor. So we'll grab that. And moving around here, again we've got another tail light and various bits and bobs. There's now a toolbox available, which I'm going to pick up because we'll take a look at that. I'm going to move on to looking at containers next. So this is something that we'll be looking at there. And just turning round, there's the proximity reader. So I'm going to grab that. That goes along with the sensor. So those two work together. We've again got the high-tech headlight. And these are fairly common. Although I think there's been some price changes for some of these things. But these were all here previously. What we want to take a look at is the universal control stand, so I'm going to grab that now. The switch setter, I think, has changed price. It also has a better range now. It works for the rear of the train as well, instead of just working to the rear of the locomotive. That probably makes more sense to you if you've used it. We also have a remote signal booster now, so that was in the caboose previously. It came as part of the caboose once you found that, and that boosts the signal of the remote controller quite drastically. Again, we'll be installing that as part of the playthrough. I'll cover that later because it's already been in the game from what I've played so far. And yeah, there's folders. Again, we'll be covering this as part of the sort of containers. So yeah, I'll click on that. We'll pick that up. But yeah, I think that's it for in here. So I'll drop that. We'll stick the wallet in. We'll make some purchases. And there we go. Wow. Whoa, that was nuts. Right, okay, let's stick these things in our inventory. I think something went behind. Yeah, the toolbox went behind. Right, so they're now in our inventory. So as it would happen, we'd actually happen to have our own D6 outside waiting. So I think we'll take a look and see how this universal controller works and also the proximity sensor. Right then guys, so let's take a look at these two new gadgets. So first up, I want to take a look at the universal control stand. So to me, this would be best mounted towards the back of the train. So it's a control system that mirrors the UI overview. So if we jump in the cab and we hit F4, we'll see that it brings up a UI. I'm just going to throw the cab lights on as well, so maybe we can see a little bit better. But yeah, once those are on, we can actually see the cab controls, but we can also see the UI stuff as well at the bottom of the screen there. So apparently this control system mimics that. So let's have a look. So I would have thought this would be best put at the back of the train. So if you're reversing, you've got some controls down here as well. So let's hop up here, and I think maybe even on the roof. I know it's a bit odd, and I don't know where you would mount yours, but I think maybe up on the roof here. So let's have a look. So you can rotate it if you want. I think maybe let's put it right in the center if possible. As central as possible. I know somebody's going to tell me that isn't central. What we'll do is just use the drill. We'll just drill holes in this. Okay, so once you've got that installed, you're just going to grab your universal control stand and place it in position like that. Now, it may appear as if it's slightly out of position there. I think it does. But all you need to do is just to rotate this a little bit. And basically, it then sort of faces you, which is much better. So what we now need to do is wire it in. So what I'll do is just go into my inventory, and I'm just going to get my soldering iron, but of course it needs a spool, so we'll just drag the spool over, and that now loads it for us, which is absolutely fantastic. So much easier doing it that way. And that's now soldered in, so absolutely amazing. No fuss at all. So once that's in there like that, we can actually press this to start it, I believe. So there we go, she's running. And of course, we can switch it to reverse because we are actually, that's forward and this is reverse. So there we go. What else do we need to do? We need to release the independent brake. So we'll do that now, and then we'll just put a bit of throttle on. And there we go. She's moving. So yeah, we'll just bring her to a halt. And we can either shut her down using that as well. So that's pretty good, I think. It's alright anyway. Yeah, so you can use that at this end. I'm not too sure how far away from the loco. Or sorry, not how far away, but how deep you can install it. Like if you could put it on the very end there, maybe. Maybe you could put it sideways here, if you really wanted to see directly behind the loco. So the only thing is if you've got a long train behind you, even looking in that direction maybe isn't that useful. So here's where the remote sensor comes in. So the actual sensor is fitted onto here. So let's take a look at this now. So this is a proximity sensor, and this goes on here like that. Alright, so that's now on. This doesn't need to be wired in or anything like that. It's got two dials on it. One of them indicates the distance by which you want the sensor to be sensitive by. So I'm going to set it on 30 meters, and I'm also going to set this to channel 1 like so. So that's all set up. What I now need to do is install the actual receiver. Now I've put a mount in there, and you'll see why in just a sec, because it mounts sideways, so it goes like that. So it's a bit weird at first. If you're not entirely too sure, you can just rotate that that mount, and then you just click it, and there you go, it's in. So we do want it on channel 1. You've got auto or a channel option, so auto will detect the most the nearest sensor. So that's all in place and ready to go. It doesn't have power at the moment, so again we need to get our soldering iron and get a reel on there like that, and then basically we're just going to solder away. So there we go. We'll pop that back in there. I'll pop that rubbish in there as well. That's the old reel. So that's now lit up with the green light saying power, and also the blue light that this indicating that the sensor's working. So what we're going to do is I'm going to fire this baby up. So I could really use the control stand up there, but what I want to show you is how this sensor works now. So we'll release the brakes. She's in reverse. So I am now going to reverse into military base, and in fact I'll use these controls just to show you the initial part of this. So I'm using this control stand, but I'm going to use the keyboard. So you've got everything on there. Amp meter, tachometer, brake pipe, everything you'd want to see. You've even got wipers. You've got the lights front and back as well, which is pretty cool. It's just putting a bit of independent on there now. I've also got sand and horn there. Okay, so what I'm now doing is reversing, and I may have cars behind me, in which case I'd put the sensor, the proximity sensor, on the back rearmost car. So what I'm now going to do is just actually continue reversing here, and you'll see that we're routed to go into this siding here now. If I had cars on the back and I was at the front of the DE6 here, I would have no idea how far back I should go. Well, this hopefully is going to tell me. I'm going to put a tiny bit of brake on because I'd only be going too fast. Especially not with military stuff. I could see the other lot of cars there was missiles. So we'll just take it easy going in here. We should start to see some sort of readout in a sec. So there we go. There's 1, 2, 3. So we're starting to see a bit of action now. Just going to put a bit more brakes on because we're about to make contact, I think. And that's it. We're in. So we know there that we are reversed up to those cars. We haven't done any damage. And there we go. We're ready to couple up. So fantastic stuff, eh? I'm quite pleased with those two gadgets, to be honest with you. And I may well use them as part of my own playthrough. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Okay then, guys. So our next stop is the food factory and town shop. So here we are. Let's see what they've got in here. So again, a lot of the same types of things, although I'm loving these mounts. Every time I see them, I can't help but look at the detail there. It's far better. So there's a crate, which is another storage container. So yeah, we'll certainly be taking a look at these, but the crate item can actually hold 24 large items, and this is available only at Food Factory and Town Shop. It costs 7,500. So we're going to do some detail on the actual containers, but I'm not going to pick up that one. I think it's quite straightforward. It holds 24 items, so when we come to discuss that, we'll go through that in terms of the actual storage containers. So what else do we have? We've got a label maker here. So I'll tell you what, let's grab that. And I think that's about it for Food Factory in town. Everything else looks like standard fare. So let's pop over here and we'll stick our wallet in and grab that. So yeah, label maker. So let's have a look, see what this can do. So according to the actual description here, there's a number of different things that you can do with this. So it's an item used to make labels with custom text. It's basically an item that you aim at a surface you want to label. You click and you'll be prompted with a UI dialog to type your text in. After typing the text, the label is placed to the surface. To remove a label, use the label maker on it. A removed label can be discarded. You can also put labels on item containers, which will make the text appear in the inventory too. So yeah, it's available at Food Factory shop for 6,000 with 3 in stock. So let's see what we can actually label. Can we label this? No. So it's got to be something that we are actually going to use. Actually, okay. Let's have a look. So we'll type in random truck. Okay. All right, so there we go. So that's quite useful actually, because it means you can put your own labels on controls. You can put your own labels on, I guess, cars as well. So let's have a look. So say we want to go over to this. So say we've got, say we're picking up more than one set of cars. Can we label the car? We can. So let's say order 1. Okay. So there we go. So we can label our orders. We'd click on it again if we want to remove it. And we'll get rid of it. And there we go. It's gone. Fantastic stuff. So you can also, it says label containers. So hopefully, if I remember, we'll take a look at that as well further down the line. Okay then guys, so we've also come to the goods factory in town shop. I don't think there's anything juicy here. So we do have again the battery charger. I think generally speaking here we're going to find nothing new. So we've got the folders in here as well, which are available at all shops. But yeah, I think we're going to be moving on to some more interesting stuff now when we go to Harbour Town and then also to City West. So yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything that you'd expect to find here is here, but unfortunately nothing new. Alright then guys, here we are at Harbour in Town. Let's have a look and see what they've got available in the shop here. So there should be some juicy items here. So yeah, the usual fare over here. So I know that there's the Steam checklist now, the startup checklist, which has been improved apparently. Can't remember what it looked like previously, but we'll cover that as part of the playthrough. I'll install that into one of the Steam locomotives and we'll take a look at it. Let's have a look. All of this stuff I believe was here previously. So again, we've got the briefcase available here. And we've now got a brake checklist as well. So this is brand new. So this wasn't available previously. We can't really see it from that angle. Let's see if we can jump up on the shelf and see it a bit better. So there you go. So enable compressors, step 1. Step 2, verify all airline connections. 3, enable cutout valve on active vehicle. 4, close cutout valve on non-active vehicles. 5, apply train independent brake. 7, verify brake cylinder is getting, can't quite read what it says because it's quite dark, but I think it means filled. 8, release all hand brakes, which is a typical one for me. Releasing the parking brake is not my forte. 9, release train independent brake. And 10, go. So yeah, that's quite a fun one as well. Might fancy installing that in maybe our main train just as a kind of nice little token thing to go on the wall. Alright, so let's drop down and see what else we've got here. So we do have a nameplate text. So I'm going to grab this because I want to show you what this does. So let's grab that. And is there anything else here that's new? Again, we've got the folder that crops up everywhere now. But no, we'll put the nameplate text item into play, I think. So there we go. Alright then guys, so I've switched to daytime just to give us a better view of what's going on here, and I'm approaching this DE2, so let's just zip up to it. And I want to show you what we can do with the nameplate, so let's have a look. So there's a few different ways that you could use it. I'm sure you can think of many, but let's have a look. So firstly, you grab the nameplate and then you look to place it wherever you want it. So let's say we want to put a sign on the outside. So we could say, for example, DE2 shunter. So this is just one way that you could use it. You could label your trains as you see fit. The one thing that I would say is that needs to be fixed in place, so I would personally look to use the screwdriver on that in order to place that as it should be. As it's called in the game, it's the drill, isn't it? But another way that you could use this is to put a sign inside, so you could choose somewhere where you want this to go. In fact, it's allowing us to put that on the window, wow. But yeah, let's say we wanted to put a sign up here. I'd click, and then again I'd type in whatever I want. Let's say I wanted to put mind your head. Also, don't forget to take off the parking brake. I'm going to type some other stuff here. So you can see there's quite a lot of text that you can fit on that isn't actually displayed, but let's hit OK. So I've got the sign saying, mind your head. Also, don't forget to take off the parking brake, otherwise you'll look like a noob. So there you go, guys. That's exactly how you use that. As I say, you'll need to fix it in place, unless it's going to fall off when you start driving. Okay, so we've come to City West for our final trip to the shops, and as you can see, the reflections there on the puddles are looking beautiful. I believe that they've improved those as part of the latest update. But let's see what's available in here. So, as far as I know, they've got the usual folders, but they've also got special coloured folders available in here. So there we go. There's a yellow. There's a blue. And there's the standard folder, and there's a red. So yeah, different coloured folders available. They've also got a Registor, which is similar to the other containers that we're going to take a look at. So I'll tell you what, we'll buy one of those just in case we want to take a look at that. It does say in the top corner that it contains, can contain up to 24 pieces of paperwork. So yeah, there's the briefcase, which we'll pick up. I can't remember if we picked up that previously. It's been such a long day of shopping. Right, we'll pop that up there, and we'll stick it in our wallet, and away we go. So we'll pop those things into our inventory. So there we go, guys. We've got a bunch of stuff, and we'll now head across to the tool shed to take a look at our purchases. So let's take a look at what we've got. We've got a bunch of things. So I'm going to put the briefcase down. I'll put the Registor down as well here, and we'll also put the tool case down. I'm going to keep the folder, and I'm going to show you what you can do. So the folder can contain documents, so let's pick up 2 documents, or maybe 3, like that. So there's a few different ways that we can insert documents into folders. So the main first way we'll do it is by popping the folder down. And then say you've got a document. So say you've got some of these licenses that you want to put together. Or you've got some orders that you want to put together. You could pop them in a folder by hovering over here, holding down R. And that document then goes into that folder. And that's the same for your other documents as well. So, again, you pop them in like that. And they just get fired in like that. So the folder can contain and hold up to 8 pieces of thin paperwork. Again, that's available in shops for $50. If you pick up the folder and you've got it in your hand here, you can then put it into your inventory. And then if you click on it when it's in your inventory, you'll see that it shows you now the available documents that are in there. There's other things that you can do. So if you notice down here as well, by having the folder open, it shows you the documents here. But say you were clicked on a different item and you hover the mouse over the folder, it still shows you at the bottom there what's in the folder. So that's quite useful and quite cool, I think. Right, guys, we've also got a toolbox. So the toolbox, according to the description that they've given on the website, can contain 12 large items. So it's available at Machine Factory and Goods Factory shops for $3,500. So let's try and put some large items in there then. So that's gone in, no problem. Can the Registor go in? Yes, it can. Can one of these go in? Yes, it can. So when we open it, you'll see that it's got these things available in there. So that's quite good. You can do the same as what we did previously. You can put that into your inventory. And then when it's in your inventory, you can put the folder into it, for example. So now we've got a container within a container. So when we click on this and open it, we've also got the option of clicking in there. So it's a great thing for holding tools, I think. I think it would be great to put all your tools in the toolbox and have that available in your inventory without having to fill up your inventory with various tools. Right, the Registor, which we have looked at briefly, is similar to the Briefcase. So I'll just read these out. So the Registor can hold 24 pieces of thin paperwork. It's available at City West shop for $300. And the Briefcase can hold 12 small items, and that's available at City West or Harbour shops for $3,000. So I guess the Briefcase is the more interesting one. So when it talks about small items, it's talking about paint cans. It's talking about, I guess, something like the lighter you could put in there. And then when you click on it and open it, you see that you've got the things available in there. So that's quite cool, I think. Alright guys, so I did say that we were going to have a go at labelling one of our containers. So here is the toolbox. Let's give the labelling container option a go. So let's click on this. We'll click on the label. So let's say ellipse toolbox hands off. There we go. If I can actually even type, that would help, wouldn't it? But let's hit OK. So there we go. Ellipse toolbox hands off. What more do you want? That's fantastic. It's a nice little touch. It definitely helps. I also wanted to say, guys, by the way, I didn't say it in the last little section there, but if your hands are empty, you can also click on the handle part of the containers in order to see what's inside. So that's two different ways that you can open it. You can either click there, or you can click on the item, hold it, and then click again to open it. So that's two different ways that you can open it. I'm just going to also have a quick read through the rest of these updates in terms of items and gadgets, because we've covered the majority of it, but what we haven't done is discuss some of the other little bits and bobs. So there's a modified duct tape usage now. Duct tape is now consumable. It has 12 uses, visibly getting spent. Removing tape is now done bit by bit rather than all at once. So if you'd use duct tape, then that's something for you. I don't use it. I prefer to use the drill/screwdriver. Some gadgets that don't require mounts are now considered mounts themselves. If not drilled, these gadgets will now fall off in case of a train collision. This includes hangers, checklists, shelves, sun visors, and nameplates. So that's quite interesting. If you had these gadgets installed on prior builds, they will be automatically drilled in. Also, they've updated some item prices and availability in shops, so it's best to cover this, I think. The flashlight is now 7,000, so that's an increase. The locomotive remote controller is now 35,000. The amp limiter is now 18,000. The infrared thermometer is now 3,500. Other minor price changes as well, which you'll have to have an eagle eye to spot, I would think. Some basic work tools are stocked more in shops now, so that's good. The fixed gadgets installed in work sheds not carrying over to other tool sheds in installed state. So this is something that we have encountered on this channel, and I've touched on this, I've mentioned it previously. I'll just put this down here. So if you've got a mount, like let's say this one, if you click, that's now classed as installed even though it's not drilled. So previously that would not carry over to other tool sheds. So we know that the tool shed as a workspace is universal from station to station. Whenever you walk into your tool shed, it's always the same. All these things are always laid out in the same way that you left it in the other previous tool shed at a different station. But these mounts, when you click them like that, were getting stuck. And you had to place them using R, like that, to drop them, or V to throw them down. Now, if you click them like that, apparently, they are transferable between tool sheds. So that's really good, because that wasn't the case previously. Okay. We also have the switch setter now operates switches away from the entire train's end, not just the locomotives. They've also fixed various bugs with the wireless MU controller, especially when used alongside the MU cables. So we did have a bug in one of our episodes. They've also lowered the volume of the drill sound. So we mentioned this in the last video. They added an on setting to the alternating controller with continual output. They've improved gadget installation, interaction, UX in VR. Shovels now dip into cold fire firebox when used in non-VR, so that's an interesting one. They made mount models a bit more detailed. We've covered that. I've mentioned it a few times. So they fixed not being able to open and close the sun visor in non-VR. They fixed items sometimes falling off when being placed on a hanger. They fixed flag markers having bad orientation when held in VR. They fixed some items having bad orientation when placed on sticky tape. They fixed gadgets being immune to dumpster deletion. And they fixed lantern flame not having inertia in VR. Right then guys, so I'm just going to read through the platform and stability improvements. So there's improved performance now. It includes numerous code and asset optimizations, reduced RAM and VRAM usage, significant CPU optimizations, results in up to 33 FPS improvement on some hardware, fixed various crashes and memory leaks since recent builds. They've added control binding and revamped the input system. So there's now support assigning controllers, joysticks, etc. with an included calibration tool. Train controls can now be mapped in many ways, including incremental, analog, combined, etc. The game now features a control mapping UI, accessible in settings controls. Multiple bindings per controller now possible. Mapping modifiers such as shift plus a key is now supported. VR control remapping is not possible but can be supplemented with train controllers. So they've added support for Raildriver desktop train cab controller out of the box. That's an interesting one to me, one that I would be interested in and am very tempted to pursue. The game comes with predefined mappings made for playing with this controller. You can download the control sheet at this link, so there's a link available in the website. All motorized vehicles can be driven with this controller. Some player position and orientation adjustments are possible on the controller. For non-driving gameplay, players still need to use the mouse and keyboard. It is possible to use this controller in combination with VR to the extent of train driving. They've also improved Steam Big Picture mode user experience, and it is now possible to type using a gamepad. They've made it possible to have platform-specific initial settings. On Steam Deck, graphics now default to medium preset, plus other setting tweaks. They've added virtual keyboards for typing in text fields in VR, Steam VR only. They've improved opening links on GeForce Now, Steam Deck, Steam Big Picture mode in Steam VR. Accessing folders and files while in Steam VR now opens desktop view. They fixed a rare bug where importing a save could end up with session creation spam. And they fixed a rare error occurring when pausing in VR with a full inventory and full left hand. Alright then guys, so we're on to graphics updates. So they've notably improved the way light reflects on wet surfaces at night, which is now more contrasty. They've tweaked headlight glares to be less intense. They've fixed reflections appear in sunlight when sun is behind the horizon. They've added SMAA to anti-aliasing graphics options. In terms of world and tracks, they've added an interactive light switch to the museum, so let's take a look at that. So that's actually over here. So it's available on the main pillar. So as you actually approach, you'll see it's now here. And you just click on it and that throws on the museum light. It also, I believe, switches on this light outside, but it says here in the description here that the museum lights and sign can now be toggled on and off with the switch. The switch is located on one of the entrance columns, which we've just witnessed. The museum lights are now off by default, so it's actually a good thing this, because the lights tend to go on and off at odd times as well. Okay, they've fixed the sun, moon and stars missing from the sky, so this has been since build 9.9. They've fixed city buildings missing window illumination at night since a few builds ago. They've also fixed the museum turntable, not turning the player along with it, so that's incredible. Let's go and have a look. So you should be able to now turn this from anywhere. Well, actually, I'm not turning with it, but it's good that we can move the turntable from anywhere, because previously we had to stand here. But now we can stand in other places, so I think we can stand here as well. and turn this like that. Alright, awesome. Right guys, so what else have we got here? You might have seen their sneak preview of some of the locos that I've picked up along the way. We'll not make mention of those. We've also got, they've added 2 more shelves in shops so they can fit more items. They've fixed OWC cars spawning too late when approaching from FM. They've fixed grass clipping through foundations of all buildings. That's certainly a thing. They fixed museum light. They fixed the museum sign not reflecting on wet roads. And they've fixed 2 demonstrator spawn locations, making S282 look funky when spawned on them. Okay, so they've also fixed VR input bugs since build 99. They've brought back movement controls from touchpad to joystick on WMR. They fixed being unable to run on HP Reverb G2 by holding right joystick up. They've improved carabiner slot usage. They've fixed carabiner slot toggle button not showing for empty slots. They fixed wallet state not updating when in the carabiner slot. They've improved localization. They've completely revamped the translation tools for the game manual. They simplified vehicle catalog tech properties to be easier to customize per language. They fixed stop hyphen not working correctly in localization. They also are going to be continuing the translation updates. They've said thanks to our translators. They've said if you'd like to volunteer as a translator, please see https://altfuture.gg/jobs/other. They've slightly improved crimping tool usage. They've made the wiring gizmo visible through objects. They've added haptic feedback in VR when interacting with gadgets. They've fixed a rare case where locomotives could disappear. They've fixed servicing not becoming available immediately if you install parts at the service bay. They've fixed fuel hoses getting stuck when clearing a private locomotive. They've fixed some items snapping to a bad position since a recent build. They've fixed some items remaining moving along with a vehicle despite having dashed outside it. They've fixed the boombox stopped playing if connection to a radio station experiences a hiccup. They fixed being unable to interact with some controls at a certain angle, such as the DM3 brake cutout. They fixed train windows getting wet when under a roof. They fixed being unable to click on a cargo transfer machine from external camera. They fixed reverb zones not matching depot shapes when in all circumstances. They fixed receipts facing away from player when are placed. They fixed weathercast posters being able to glitch out in rare situations, drawing all icons in a corner. They fixed the continue menu screen being accessible and bugged out when just starting a new session. They've added a setting to choose what VR output to display on your monitor, off, one eye or both eyes. They fixed permuted tracks in CME-C schematic map, and they've tweaked comms radio display and font size to fit more text. They removed in-game controls listing, deprecated by the new control bindings UI. They've removed the motion blur graphics setting in VR since it did nothing. They've added a control to turn around 180 degrees, useful when playing on specialized controllers, and various other small improvements. Finally guys, let's discuss the tutorial updates. So they've reworked the gadget part of the career tutorial to use the newly added items container. They've added a quick tutorial for DM1U, which we found out yesterday. They've modified the tutorial UI to better represent how to use controls. They've fixed a bug in career tutorial where reversing with hand car into DE2 can get you stuck. They fixed items in the locker sometimes bursting out in career tutorial. They fixed already having coal in firebox blocking the steam locomotive quick tutorial. So this was since build 99. They've fixed a couple of quick tutorial getting frozen on screen if done on a vehicle without an MU cable. And there's other small tweaks as well. Alright then guys, so the last thing that I wanted to cover in this video is the new control settings. So there is a new controlled binding screen. So to get to it, you would basically hit escape, and then go to your settings and then control bindings, which is here. So what this allows you to do is to add a controller. So it might be an Xbox controller or a DualSense. I'm sure there's a load of different types of controllers that you can also add in. I mean, it has here various different types of control as well. So you've got your movement controls, your train controls, item interaction, other, and console. So for now, what I'm going to do is hit add. And what I want to do is hit a button on my Xbox controller, and that will then add in what it's calling here the Xbox One controller. It's actually an Xbox Series controller, but we won't bicker too much about that. So what I'll now do is hit calibrate, and what I want to show you here is that you can calibrate your controller basically. So first up is the left stick. So it basically allows you obviously to see the controller moving. Now, what I would suggest here is having a dead zone. Now, you might not think that a dead zone sounds like a very good thing. I didn't when I saw it, but you certainly need it, and I'll show you why. Because if you don't have a dead zone, let's take it off, and we'll hit done, and then we come out of here. You'll see that we are moving slightly to the right. And I don't know whether that's an inconsistency with the controller or it's just a bit weird, because it seems to me whichever direction I push, there is a bit of movement still there. Like, it just does it itself. You can see it barely there, but it's even more obvious when you're in the cab. So let's have a look. So we'll come out of there, and like I said, you just want to go back to your control bindings and calibrate and just add a bit of dead zone, just a little bit, just to sort of deal with that not happening. What else? So we've got the right stick where that is zeroed basically. So yeah, I've got that set at the absolute minimum. And sensitivity wise, I've got it on maximum. I'll show you why in just a sec. I'll hit done, and we'll come out of there. And I'm going to hit escape as well. And now I can use my Xbox controller. But as you'll see here, it's really slow. Now, why is that? I'll tell you why. It's because if you go back into your settings, and again, control bindings, and again, calibrate, you'll see the sensitivity is up to maximum. So you might ask the question, why is this still a problem? Well, it's because for some reason it thinks that the mouse sensitivity and the controller sensitivity are the same thing. So if you push this up a little bit, and I wouldn't advise pushing it very high because it does get pretty erratic, maybe go about 4, hit apply, and then exit out of there, you'll find now that the controller is far more responsive. In fact, that's probably still a bit too much. I wouldn't mind something a little bit smoother than that. But anyway, what you can do with the controller is, and my mouse is now acting very, very erratic. I've had to switch the DPI down a little bit there. You can actually use the controller to drive. So let's start her up. So you can actually have all of these things set up with the controller. For now, I'm just going to show you the basics of moving forward. So I'll just throw some lights on. I'm still using mouse and keyboard. So let's position ourselves about here. And so I'll just go back into settings again. And I'm going to actually do control bindings this time. Train controls. And for the throttle up, you'll see the default there is D-pad up and down. I'm going to say it's set similar to Train Sim World because why not? So I'm going to hit replace. And I'm going to leave it centered. And now I'm going to hit the right trigger. It's actually telling me there, right trigger is already in use. Do you want to replace it? Yes. There we go. So the right trigger is now throttle up. For throttle down, I'm going to replace this one. Again, it's asking me to zero everything. That's exactly what I'm doing. And I'm going to hit the shoulder, the right shoulder button. And I'm going to hit replace. All right, for the train brake, I'm going to replace that with, it's basically the left stick. So there we go. And the same, I'm repeating the same process. I'm going to replace it. Again, it's asking me to zero controls, and there we go, replace. So I've now got my throttle up and throttle down on the right side in terms of the triggers, and my brake, my train brake at least, is on the left side. Right, what else do I want to set? So in order for us to actually start moving, I want to set a reverser. So I'm going to set the reverser up as D-pad up. I'm going to set reverser down as D-pad down. There we go. So that should enable us to get moving. I could just set independent and stuff like that. I'm not going to mess with any of that stuff for the time being. In fact, we'll release the handbrake with the mouse, but it just shows you can literally toggle all of your stuff to whatever you want. So let's have a look. So we'll use the Xbox controller there. We'll set the reverser forward. Just make sure the train brake's released, which it is. And now I'm going to just apply a little bit of throttle using the triggers. And there we go. And away we go. Again, we'll release the throttle. And we'll put a little bit of train brake on. And that should bring us to a nice halt. But basically, guys, that's it. It's quite simple and straightforward to use. And I was quite pleased with it, to be honest with you. Just going to put a little bit more train brake on there. And that's the new control binding screen. I hope you enjoyed that. Well guys, that brings us to the end of this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do hit the like button. Man, these updates are so awesome and so in detail. It's absolutely insane. If you want to see more videos like this, please do hit the subscription button. If you want to be notified of up and coming videos, please do hit the notification bell. Otherwise guys, please do take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you guys again soon.